Set a bowl of vegetables in front of your cat. Add some rice, a slice of bread, a few pieces of fruit, anything you'd happily live on yourself. Your cat will sniff it once and walk away. And if that bowl were the only food in the house, it would sit there and starve beside it. That part looks like pickiness. It isn't. If you somehow forced a cat to live on nothing but that plate for a few weeks, it wouldn't just be unhappy. Its eyes would begin to fail. Its heart would start to weaken. A small, familiar predator, curled up in living rooms all over the world, is carrying the exact same locked-in limitation as a lion on the savannah. And the reason has almost nothing to do with the food in the bowl. Most people assume it comes down to taste, or to teeth built for tearing instead of grinding. That's a sliver of the truth, but it's nowhere near the whole thing. The real answer is hidden inside the animal's own chemistry, in a set of tools its body quietly stopped building millions of years ago and never rebuilt. Start with a compound called taurine. Back in the 1970s, researchers discovered that cats fed diets low in taurine slowly went blind, their retinas breaking down not from injury or infection, but from a single missing ingredient. Then, in 1987, a team at the University of California, Davis, uncovered something that shook the entire pet food industry. An epidemic of fatal heart failure in ordinary house cats, thousands of them dying every year, turned out to be caused by the very same deficiency. The taurine in their food simply wasn't enough, and their hearts were quietly giving out because of it. Cat foods had to be reformulated across the board. Taurine, it turns out, is something most mammals build for themselves out of other nutrients. Cats can't. Their bodies never kept that ability, and taurine barely exists in plants. It lives almost entirely in animal tissue. So a cat on an all-plant diet isn't just eating something it dislikes. It's being slowly hollowed out by the absence of a part it was never designed to make. And taurine is only the first gap. Cats, like most true carnivores, are also missing the ability to handle vitamin A the way you do. You can take beta-carotene, the orange pigment in a carrot, and convert it into usable vitamin A right inside your own body. A cat can't do that conversion at all. It needs vitamin A already built, already assembled, the way it comes packaged inside liver and organ meat. Surround a cat with carrots and it will still be starving for vitamin A, no matter how many it swallows. So what stripped these abilities out of a predator's body? Not an accident, not evolution fumbling and breaking something important. It's that evolution stopped paying for tools it no longer needed. Picture a carnivore's ancestors, already living almost entirely on meat. Every kill they made arrived preloaded, taurine already inside it, vitamin A already assembled, every nutrient they required handed over ready-made by whatever animal they'd just eaten. In a world like that, the internal machinery for building those nutrients from scratch was pure dead weight. Running an expensive biological factory to produce something that walks up and gets eaten anyway is a waste of energy the body would rather spend elsewhere. So, mutation by mutation, those genes quietly failed, and nothing ever repaired them because nothing needed to. And once you see that logic, you start noticing it everywhere in the animal, not just in its vitamins, but in its entire architecture. Look at the gut. A cow's digestive tract can run more than 20 times the length of its body, chamber after chamber, built to ferment tough plant fiber slowly over hours. A lion's intestine is only about 3 times its body length, Short and quick, because meat doesn't need slow fermentation. It needs to be broken down fast, absorbed fast, and pushed through before it rots inside the body. The whole system is tuned for a single kind of fuel, and tuned so tightly that it lost the capacity for anything else. Even the mouth tells the story. Your saliva is loaded with an enzyme called amylase that begins dismantling starches the instant food touches your tongue. Cats produce almost none of it. Their mouths were never built to start digesting bread. They're built to grip, tear, and swallow. Their teeth finish the point. Grinding plant matter into something digestible takes broad, flat molars grinding side to side over and over. A carnivore's teeth are the opposite, sharp and blade-like, made for one motion only, shearing meat off bone in a single clean pass. Drag those knife teeth across a mouthful of grass, and most of it slides straight through, barely touched, giving up almost nothing on the way out. Here's a detail that makes the contrast even sharper. Dogs, which split from wolves as they moved in alongside farming humans, actually picked up extra copies of the starch-digesting genes their wild ancestors lacked, which is part of why a dog can get by on a far more varied diet than a cat ever could. Cats never made that shift. They stayed pure carnivores, all the way down to their genes. So when a cat faces a field of plants, it isn't just facing bad flavor. It's facing a fuel its entire body, from teeth to gut to bloodstream, has spent millions of years forgetting how to use. Which raises an obvious problem. If losing these abilities is so dangerous, why would evolution ever allow it? And this is the part that stops being about cats and lions and starts being about you. Because you did the very same thing. Not with meat, with vitamin C. Sitting inside your body right now is a broken gene, nicknamed gulo. Nearly every other mammal, cows, dogs, cats, and almost everything that isn't a primate or a guinea pig uses that gene to manufacture its own vitamin C from scratch, endlessly, for free. Yours doesn't work. It hasn't worked in tens of millions of years. Somewhere around 60 million years back, deep in the primate line that eventually became you, that gene broke, and exactly like a cat's lost ability to make taurine, nothing ever came along to fix it. And for the longest time, it didn't matter at all. The ancestors who carried that broken gene were living surrounded by fruit, drenched in vitamin C at every meal. A body already swimming in something has no reason to keep paying to produce it. So the broken gene sat there completely invisible, harmless, as long as the world kept the fruit coming. For millions of years, it did. Then came the age of sail. Sailors packed onto ships for months with nothing but salted meat and hard biscuit, no fruit, no fresh vegetables, and an ancient, buried weakness came roaring back to the surface. Scurvy, gums bleeding, teeth loosening, old wounds splitting open and refusing to heal. By some historical estimates, scurvy killed more sailors across the age of sail than storms, shipwrecks, and enemy fire combined. Not because those men were weak, but because a single broken gene, hidden and harmless for millions of years, suddenly had nowhere left to hide. And if that sounds familiar, it should, because it's the identical story to a predator standing in a field of grass. A body built to perfection for one specific world, then dropped into a different one, carrying a gap it can no longer cover on its own. So go back one last time to the lion, lying in an ocean of grass, the gazelle long gone, its stomach empty. Every missing piece inside it, the taurine it can't make, the vitamin A it can't convert, the the short gut that can't process fiber, exists for the exact same reason your broken vitamin C gene exists. Evolution never plans for some hypothetical future. It builds for right now, for whatever happens to be working generation after generation, and it discards, quietly and permanently, whatever stops being necessary. The lion's ancestors never needed to make their own taurine, so that ability vanished. Your ancestors never needed to make their own vitamin C, so that one vanished too. Neither species chose it. Neither one even noticed it happening. And yet both are walking around today, carrying the same kind of invisible dependency sealed into their cells millions of years before either of them was born. The only real difference between you and the lion is luck. You close your gap without a second thought. An orange, a handful of berries, a glass of juice, and the broken gene barely registers. The lion has only one way to close its own, meat, reliably, or its body begins to fail piece by piece, exactly like a scurvy-stricken sailor centuries ago, which means the food you're free to ignore and the food a predator can never survive without are separated by nothing more than which nutrients happen to be lying around when an ancient gene quietly switched off. So here's the real question underneath all of it. What if what you can and can't survive on was never about strength or intelligence or willpower at all? What if it was settled long before you existed by whatever happened to be abundant the moment a handful of old genes stopped working? The lion isn't weak for needing meat. You aren't special for living without making your own vitamin C. You're both just living inside the terms of a deal neither of you ever signed, written millions of years ago by a world that no longer exists and enforced permanently in a body that never got a vote. Every meal you've ever eaten was shaped by a broken gene you inherited and never chose. And somewhere out there right now, a lion is lying in a sea of grass, surrounded by more food than it could ever finish. Going hungry anyway, not because it's stupid, and not because it's stubborn, but because millions of years ago, something inside it quietly decided it would never need to eat grass again. And it was right. Until one day, it isn't.